So there's this guy called Trevor Malman, who I'm going to guess is going to become famous shortly for all the wrong reasons. Earlier today, I got an email from him telling me that I had to give him $750 because I used a 15-second video clip of one of his videos in one of my videos. This isn't just a little bit out of the ordinary. This has never happened to me before on YouTube.
There may very well be a reason why this particular instance of copyright drama feels different to Thunderfoot. Because it is.
Now, it turns out that Trevor Malman, can't be entirely ignorant of copyright or fair use in that, on his Twitter feed, he's quite happily posting copyrighted material of somebody else's work. Like, does he have the license to use this clip? And if someone sent him a bill for $750 for using this clip, how would he respond?
Thunderfoot appears to be incapable of understanding that a use that appears to be the same at first glance, but which is made by differently situated role players, may flip the fair use assessment.
This has mostly been reflected in more recent law cases. When the DMCA was first written, it was really quite a draconian tool written mostly by multimedia giants to help them squash little content creators. But as time has evolved, and things like YouTube became almost the dominant market for this sort of thing, every lawsuit has softened the DMCA, starting with Lens versus the multimedia giant Universal, which Universal lost.
In Lens v. Universal, Lens's use was non-commercial, as Lens posted a video of a baby dancing. The audio quality was reportedly poor, and therefore likely was not even suitable for commercial use. Furthermore, Universal reportedly did not perform a fair use assessment before filing the DMCA takedown notice. This is in contrast with Malman, who did perform a fair use assessment, and simply reached a conclusion that Thunderfoot did not like. Malman's assessment does not seem to be an unreasonable one, and does not appear to have been made in bad faith. Believe it or not, disagreeing with Thunderfoot is not perjury, and therefore, in fact, not punishable by 5 years in prison.
Then also recently there was Akilah Hughes against Sargon of Akkad, which again went to court. He chopped up one of her videos, and she filed a DMCA takedown against it. He counterfiled, she sued. For me, it was an interesting case, in that while she had no real case to take to court, I mean, really, what would the damages be? It was an absolute farce. Her understanding of copyright was even worse. But on the flip side, Sargon hadn't actually done a lot that would count as commentary either. In the end, it came down in Sargon's favour. Boom, he won the case. And because the judges were so nonplussed by the frivolous nature of the case, she got stuck with $40,000 of legal fees as well.
Akilah obviously was not tried for, nor was she convicted of, nor was she punished with 5 years of jail time for perjury, for filing a DMCA claim against Carl Benjamin, a.k.a. Sargon of Akkad. In fact, she reportedly received an offer of settlement from Carl Benjamin, which she turned down for not being high enough, after the judge reportedly advised her during a conference that, as Carl Benjamin's video was making fun of her, it probably qualified as satire, commentary, and criticism, and therefore fair use, and that she would likely lose the case. Hughes could have walked away with some money in her pocket, or that could have contributed to her own legal bill. Instead, Hughes was ordered to pay Sargon's legal fees, not because she took action to defend her intellectual property rights and was wrong about it, but because she appears to have litigated unreasonably by persisting, despite being advised not by the opposing party but by the judge himself, that her chances of success were low. Of course, an opposing party is almost always going to insist that the plaintiff does not have a case. Operating in good faith doesn't mean that you have to blindly take the opposing party at their word and in an adversarial system. Furthermore, Hughes reportedly made public statements that she intended to bankrupt Benjamin, in addition to her reported accusations that Benjamin had cast her in a negative light. Additionally, Hughes was represented by counsel, who had their own professional obligations to assess the merits of the case, in accordance with their legal education and expertise.
Like when H3H3 had their run-in with Matt Hoss. They made a commentary video laughing at his laughably bad parkour videos. He then filed a Digital Millennium copyright takedown against them, a DMCA takedown. And they countered it, and he then sued them. And a few months later, H3H3 won.
In the case of H3H3, Matt Hoss was not, at least to my knowledge of the case, in the business of licensing his footage. The market that may have been infringed, devalued or substituted was his YouTube audience only, and the judge found that fans of Ethan and Hila Klein were unlikely to have been fans of Matt Hoss, and that their video thus did not deprive Hoss's channel of views. This is why, after balancing the factors, H3H3 won their case, despite the fact that their use was commercial and that they used the video virtually in its entirety. This gives further credence that the market substitution factor tends to be weighed significantly more heavily than other factors.
So this is the guy on YouTube, Trevor Malman, and this is the guy claiming that he's going to offer me something much lower than his standard rates. Yeah, I'm struggling to believe that the man with 6,000 subscribers has standard rates for people on YouTube, especially when this has never happened to me before in 15 years on YouTube.
Thunderfoot mockingly states that he does not believe that a YouTuber with 6,000 subscribers can command a $750 price tag for their videos, but he does not consider that footage of this type may very well have a market outside of YouTube. Professional videographers who do commissioned work for commercial entities are often able to command a hefty sum, which is why health and safety training videos, for example, can often command a much higher price than wedding videography, despite the fact that filming weddings may result in higher expenses for the videographers and may be a lot more time consuming. I guess that Thunderfoot could possibly be forgiven for his lack of understanding that someone may operate in multiple markets simultaneously, or that what happens in one market may influence the appetite in or the value of another market, as Nick Riccietta does not seem to understand this concept either.
This is not the analysis at all. This has no analysis built into it. What you have to do is look at the market for that work and determine if the infringing use diminishes or impacts the market for that work. In this case, does someone watching Thunderfoot's 23-minute video with 15 seconds of video from Trevor Malman impact Trevor Malman's 7-minute video? Will he get less use out of that video, less commercial use out of that video because someone watched Thunderfoot's video? The answer to this is almost guaranteed to be no. It will have no impact.
Thunderfoot further fails to understand that different uses by the same role player can also tip the fair use balancing test.
He then decided to take his censorship to a new level and get DMCA happy without working out that he was committing perjury by doing so.
Today, most people who are somewhat educated on copyright would understand that Thunderfoot's use of Venomfang X's video material clearly constitutes fair use. This is because Thunderfoot was commenting on arguments by Venomfang X, and furthermore does so in a manner that is critical of Venomfang X, not using someone else's footage for which there is a commercial market, including outside of YouTube, to comment on Elon Musk and his fanboys and fangirls. But even more persuasively, I believe that this was still during the time when Thunderfoot had not yet revealed his identity as Phil Mason, and was making YouTube videos purely as a hobby. To my knowledge, not only was YouTube and the associated Patreon sponsorships not yet his primary income, I do not believe that he even offered the option to donate, or even had a Patreon account at the time. This use by Thunderfoot of others' copyrighted materials without their prior permission is somewhat analogous to Lens v. Universal. However, despite Thunderfoot's threat of perjury charges, the case law at the time was still very poorly developed. Thunderfoot's spat with Venomfang X happened somewhere circa September 2008. Lens v. Universal was only decided by the District Court circa 2013, and by the Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit only upheld the judgment somewhere circa 2015. While it does sound like Venom Fang X had mixed motives, at the very least, making this instance somewhat analogous to that of Akilah Hughes, copyright holders are not required to pursue all infringement, nor are they required to pursue infringement equally, as opposed to trademark holders who are required to defend their rights or possibly see those rights diluted. Add to that Venom Fang X most likely would have been a pro se litigant, the idea that he would have been convicted of perjury seems patently absurd.
So, I've dealt with a lot of copyright claims in my time. A lot of whiny-ass copyright complaints. But this one just takes the biscuit, right? So this here is what one of my videos looks like. As you can see, there's quite a lot of clips in there. Quite a lot of editing involved. And this was the super battery busted video. So you'll tank, and for the oxygen tank, and give or take, it's about 2 parts, right? Oxygen. That's the video, right? Now, which part of all of this video here do you think is the one that someone wants to be credited for? Otherwise, they'll file a copyright complaint against me. No, not that one. That one.
It was in the late 1970s when John Goodenough developed the first lithium-ion batteries right here at the University of Oxford.
Her other clip, which is actually an animation, right, which is there. So let's play this bit. That little bit there is her animation. Energy. You can't do that with a battery because you need at least one atom to hold the charge, one atom to take the charge when it discharges, and you need to separate the two by something. You know, to stop it discharging immediately. Then, of course, you don't just want to get energy out of the system, you want to get electrical energy out of the system, which carries penalties of its own. Right, so I mean, first of all, it's a remarkable 10 seconds of video, and then you actually see these little stretch marks on it, which means it's been stretched. I'm not entirely sure why I did that, but whatever. So 10 seconds of video, and she thinks that doesn't fall under fair use. I've seen some entitled princesses in my time, but I mean, this just takes the biscuit in terms of seriously, you want credit for 10 seconds of video, otherwise you'll file copyright complaints? People will ask, why don't I just acknowledge this sort of thing? I'm a kind of busy guy, right? I've got to choose how I spend my time. I've got to prioritize my targets. And honestly, bookkeeping videos like this, where I document every clip that I put in there, would just be kind of a dumb way of spending my time. But why not do it for her? Well, honestly, if someone is being this entitled, first of all, to the point where if they got their way, they would set the precedent that would basically be a chilling force on YouTube, that anyone who uses more than 10 seconds of clips must go through and acknowledge me. And it's like, no, they don't. I mean, look.
Thunderfoot was almost certainly entitled to use Draw Curiosity's clip without her prior permission. Whether he was entitled to use her animation without permission is just a little less clear, but it still appears to be fair use. However, Thunderfoot's insistence that he should not be required to provide any attribution because it is an inconvenience to him appears to be both a gross misunderstanding of fair use versus the maintenance of copyright management information, and an unwillingness to accept that businesses are held to different standards than those who provide non-profit services or who are purely hobbyists. However, that is an issue for another day.
Hey, you know that really stupid guy who was reviewing that portable air conditioner? The one which, you really dumb guy, what's he called that? Margie and Jay. You know, the guy who thought this portable air conditioner that would slightly cool his car down over the period of an hour was a really good idea. Well, if he had just turned his car AC on, it would have done that in 30 seconds. Guess what? That guy has filed a bogus copyright claim against my video.
Thunderfoot's use of May and Jay's work may also constitute fair use, as he was delivering commentary and criticism about them, as well as on the underlying product he was busting.
This might sound crazy, but they're
limitations on copyright?
Is it possible?
Yes.
What the heck is
Fair.
used?
I'm sorry, you mind running that by me again?
What the heck is
Fair.
used?
You can
Borrow.
a small
Amount.
copy. Right? Work two.
Gonna let you teach that guy a lesson.
Even the Disney clips in Thunderfoot's attack video of Malman arguably constitutes fair use, as Thunderfoot is not in the market of creating children's cartoons and does not, as far as I'm aware, make use of Disney characters to promote his products or services.
We're going to watch the liftoff, and we're going to watch a roll, and we're going to watch it with full audio from his video, which has the audio of the SpaceX people involved. And we're going to see if the crash is the heart of the work or not. I contend it's not, but that's me. Here we go.
There's the jet. Ignition. Ignition. It's moving.
Yes, it's moving.
Oh boy, it's moving.
It's moving.
There it goes. Lift off, baby. SN9.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Woo!
She's turning. It's round 2, turning.
Okay, I'm using 25 seconds of the work because I want to outdo Thunderfoot here. This is the next part we're going to look at. This is where the right at the peak of where the rocket is flying to, it executes a roll. And so this is the same video. This is just a little bit farther in. Here we go.
All right, there's the kick.
Yep. Okay, here comes the kick. Getting ready for the bigger thing.
Come on, Bessie. Come on back home.
So what it's going to do is use the thing. Oh, look at the RCS. I hope. Okay, here we go.
Here's the flip.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
Whoa.
Oh, that is awesome.
There it is. She's falling.
All right, now it comes free fall, my friends. This is the belly flop. Oh, that is cool. Uh-oh, that looks like it's really nose down this time.
Uh-oh.
That is really nose down.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's fixing itself.
It fixed it.
It's fixing. It's fixing though. So it's like you have to translate forward a little bit.
Displaying the full 15-second clip, possibly even more, to determine whether it constitutes the heart or the nut graph of the work, should fall squarely under fair use in Thunderfoot's I'm Getting Sued for 15 Seconds of video, as well as in the work of Leonard French from Lawful Masses, Nick Riccieto's work, and others, because such a use is truly transformative, regardless of whether those creators are in the business of making YouTube videos, almost certainly resulting in a commercial nature of the work. Somewhat ironically then, Mason's second use of Malman's work may legitimately constitute fair use, even if his initial use probably does not.